Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. Appreciate everybody joining us for this second webinar on Tuesday, second of three. We've got another one coming up this afternoon on helping make sure you take care of yourselves. So I encourage you all to join us again later today, and we'll review that at the end of this presentation. I think it's at 3 o'clock, 3 or 3:15. But we're going to talk now. We're getting Jaclyn Karabinas is joining us for the second time to talk about Google Classroom and give us a little virtual tour and help get you up to speed. So I am going to just get us kicked off, and then I'm going to take as little time as possible now so we can spend as much time as possible with Jaclyn giving us all her wonderful advice. Welcome to, appreciate Jaclyn joining us. She's got such tremendous experience with these online tools, and today is her moment to help New Hampshire. Also with us is Ann Mordecai. Ann has been doing curriculum development for schools all around the state for quite some time, and she's going to be with me helping moderate some of the questions. And then finally, myself, I'm Mike Schwartz. I'm president of our company, and have been doing this for quite some time myself, and are really appreciative that we're able to hopefully provide some support and help to schools. I want to give a quick thanks to the Department of Education who's sponsoring these virtual webinars. Caitlin Davis and her division is giving us the support to bring these to all the schools in New Hampshire. So many thanks to Caitlin and the Department of Education. I also want to just reiterate, I've said this before, but we know these are challenging times for all of us. We look forward as a group here to be able to help each other. And we understand that you're all doing such a great job for your students. We want to make sure that you give yourself some time. We encourage you to start small. We encourage you to take deep breaths and to have confidence that you can deliver. We know you can. As teachers, you're all doing such a great service for the students in New Hampshire, and it's truly amazing that you've been able to turn on a dime and be able to provide this type of virtual education. In terms of some logistics, I want to make sure you do realize that there is a control panel for GoToMeeting where you can post questions, so please feel free to post questions. Jaclyn will not be able to get to every one of your questions, I know it, just from our experience last week, but she will do an amazing job, and she'll get to as many as she can. And then if there are other ones that are left off, hopefully we'll be able to post those on our documents page. The other thing I want to make sure is that you all realize you are muted. If for some reason you want to speak, you feel that it's something very valuable, please send us a comment and then put your hand up and we can unmute you. The other thing to point out is you will receive an email 2 hours after the webinar is over. It will have links to the recording webinar that you can share with your colleagues. It'll have a link to the PowerPoint and any other handouts that we're providing, as well as a professional development certificate. And it'll also have a link to the future webinars. So please know that's coming. You don't need to email us later tonight if you still haven't gotten it, but it should come, no problem with the hours.
We are getting a couple people who say they can't hear. So I'm assuming most people can. I'm not sure what.
So most of you should be fine. I'll send if we still get more emails about not being able to hear, I'll send a poll out just to make sure most people can hear. For those of you who are having trouble, if you go to your control panel, you'll see one option in your control panel is something called audio. If you click on the audio, you can still keep your screen sharing on and watching us on your computer, but if you click audio, you can switch to the phone. You choose phone call. It'll give you a phone number, and then while you're still viewing us on the computer, you can use your house phone to call in with a dial-up number and access code. So I encourage you to try that if you're not hearing, and obviously if you're not hearing, you can hear me say that. So maybe Ann, you can put that in the chat session as well. This is our agenda for today. Jaclyn's going to be walking us through planning for pedagogy, sound remote instruction, talking strictly about the classroom homepage. I'm focusing a bit more than she did last week, looking at video, audio, and images for content engagement, continuing to provide some more sites that you can use to integrate and providing some additional resources and final questions and answers. So I went through that quickly because I really want us to get on to Jaclyn. So at this point, I'm going to pass over control, and unless, Ann, there's anything else we need to hit before I do that.
Nope, all set.
Okay.
Okay. I think we are ready to go. Thank you so much, Mike and Ann. Thank you again to the Department of Education and to Demonstrated Success for having me here today. I want to help all of you, and I'm going to do my best. I know where you are. I know how hard you're working, and I really appreciate all the questions you sent ahead of time, the follow-up questions if you were in the webinar last Thursday, and all of those things. I'm going to address as many things as I possibly can without going too fast. I know for some of you this is really new, and kudos to you for diving into your brave new world. So I popped a link in the chat box with an outline document that is available for you to view and print. That's just going to help you sort of keep track of some of the things that we covered today. It's a lofty list, and those are all the things I hope to accomplish, but by looking at the questions that are already here in my GoToMeeting panel, and also the ones you sent ahead of time, I have a pretty good idea of how to address as many of those as possible. And so if you missed that link to the outline, I'm going to have it up here on the screen anyway. You'll be able to see it. I'm just going to throw that link in there one more time for you so that you can access it in a new tab if that is helpful for you. Okay, so I'm actually going to turn off my my camera because I hear that my screen is bigger when my camera is off, and that was some feedback that I saw from last Thursday. The screen was really small. So great to see you. I'm just going to turn off my camera for right now, and that way you'll be able to see more of what I'm modeling on the screen. So if you were here, if you were with us last Thursday, this little part will be a repeat for you. I'm sure you can probably take this in as your mantra, but the most important thing at this time is really for our students maintaining relationships and community. It's really important to consider the communities that you serve, the families that you're serving, the differentiation that they may need, how to communicate with them, and the safety of your students and families and caregivers. So in any decision that you make as a school, really rooting it in this first and deciding on an approach is going to be a way that you can approach this in a realistic way so that we can keep students learning, keep students engaged, but also be very realistic with how this is going to look different from home to home and in situation to situation for everybody, including you as educators. So really use that as your grounding. Once you sort of set some goals in your district and schools or teams with that, then it's time to really think about curriculum. You know, if you left off at Unit 4 in math 2 weeks ago, you aren't necessarily picking up in Unit 4 in math right now. This isn't business as usual. You may have to rethink how you proceed. Making sure that you prioritize what you want to accomplish or try to accomplish with students for learning goals at this time, and having realistic expectations for this new, for many students, this will be a very new remote learning experience. So thinking very carefully about what the curriculum will be that you can realistically achieve with our tools and with this time frame. The other thing when I'm thinking in terms of curriculum is that some of my mentors, Sarah Ahmed and Smokey Daniels, they always talk about how the world sometimes hands you curriculum, or how students walk through the doors and they are the curriculum. And to get started, depending on the population that you work with and serve, there may be opportunity for that in a variety of subject areas. So I encourage you to think about that and how you might connect with students in a way that lets them know that you understand that they have questions and they're curious about things as well. So with that in mind, thinking about maintaining your relationships and your community, thinking realistically about curriculum, and then choosing the supporting tech and tools that will help you with those goals. For some of you, Google Classroom will not be the tool that makes the most sense. And maybe you'll learn that today. And maybe today you'll learn it's the perfect tool. You may find that there are some other ways that make more sense depending on your population. I'm going to try to address as many of those along the way as possible and help you problem solve that. So just thinking in terms of tools, Google Classroom being our main home base right now, you can use Google Classroom as your home base, even if you're not doing a lot of things with a variety of docs and slides and forms and spreadsheets and things like that. Sometimes, in many ways, it's a great place to just have a one-stop shop for kids to get links and information that's being pushed out to them. So you may think in terms of that. So with that said, I'm going to click over into our sample classroom. You do not need to join this classroom. You can just sit back and look at some of the examples that I'm going to show you. And we'll take a look through. The majority of questions that I got before today's webinar and so far already on the webinar are asking a lot about settings in the stream and classwork and trying to get that as organized as possible. I will probably spend the most time on those two today, on stream and classwork, and looking at the different ways to organize that, since there are so many ways to do it. As far as assessment goes, looking at forms and quizzes and things like that, I did see a number of questions about those. I may touch on that briefly of how to include those. But Thursday, I believe it's at 10 a.m., I'm going to be giving another webinar through Demonstrated Success sponsored by the DOE, focusing specifically on assessment. So you may want to sort of jot that down, since I know I won't get to all of those questions today on assessment. And then we'll just keep moving through. I know I will not get to model all of these things, but I have them here for you in case I mention it and you forget later. That way you can go back to it. So with that said, I'm just going to jump over right now into our classroom. And there's a lot of questions too about specialists, people working with multiple teachers. I'm definitely going to address that because there's a ton of questions coming through about unified arts and specialists. So we will definitely do that. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to jump over here. Just here we are. We are in our classroom. Google Classroom, it's an application that's available in G Suite for Education. Your district IT or district G Suite administrator will have is in the driver's seat for all of the settings and controls in the back end for student accounts and whether or not you're including parent and guardian emails and that kind of thing. Any settings like that, if something's not working and it seems like it should, it may be a school domain-wide setting. So just sort of putting that out there so that you know that. The students join your class through a code, or you can add them. So once you set up your classroom, you set up your account as a teacher. Just going to click back to my main screen here. When you have all of your classes, they will line up like crazy, tiles, rows and rows of tiles. In this sample classroom, I've cleaned it out, so I only have 2 right now. But this is where you'll access all of your classes. So this could be, if you are a self-contained classroom, this could be just your one class. If you are, an art teacher, you could have art, and maybe you're pushing things out to students from the art classroom or the music classroom, or maybe you have multiple classrooms for music grade 1, music grade 2. So thinking about the way you want to organize it and working and collaborating with your colleagues is going to really make this more seamless. So thinking very strategically, if you are going to use Classroom as a district, that you think strategically about how you're going to organize this, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. So when you have your classroom created, and I can click on it here, you may be wondering, okay, how do I invite students? Well, if you go into the People tab, you click here on the plus, and you can invite students that way. Now, if you want to add them as a group, or you want to add them, like bulk upload them, you're going to have to talk to your G Suite admin. They're going to be able to help you with that. They may make your class a group, and then all you would have to do is start typing in the group, grade 1 class. And it's not popping up because that's not a group that I own or have in my domain. But if that has been created, then your whole class will pop up. So as far as bulk uploading students, you'll want to talk to your G Suite admin about that. Or you can create your class. You can click the gear and go into settings. I'll do that one more time. This gear in the top right, in all tools, G Suite tools, any other tools like that, you're going to want to check out that gear. That's where you'll always find the settings, class details, your general, any grading that you have set up. So we're going to take a look at general right now. This is your class code. We can display it large. That's good for when you're in the classroom, or if you're video conferencing with students using Zoom or Google Meet, you can check in on that. One moment. So this class code, if you send that to students and they go to classroom.google.com, or they go to the app on their device and they click join class, I'm a student, and they put the code in. It's 123. If the code has like an L or an I or something like that, I like to reset it. So you can click reset here, because you'll get 1,000 emails. Is that an L or an I? Is that a capital L, or is that a, what letter is that? Is that a 0 or an O? So you can just keep resetting the code until you like it, if you want. The stream, you're going to want to decide what access you want students to have. Typically in a classroom, I think in terms of gradual release. So when I'm modeling a tool for a student, I start with only teachers can post or comment, and I'm modeling then what this looks like to post and comment online. Over time, I give them access for comment. So students can only comment on a post that I have put out in the stream. It's a great way to encourage conversation and community and teach that digital citizenship. And then finally, after that, if you want to give students free reign to post and comment, go for it. You know your community and you know your students, so you know what they will need in terms of if this is appropriate for them or not. If this were me right now, I would probably, if I had little ones, or if I was working with a lot of students, I might start with only teachers can post or comment for a couple of days while I'm figuring this all out. Or if you're feeling pretty comfortable, you could do students can only comment. That might be a really good way for them to, to be able to communicate in that thread with you. So you can set it there. The other thing too is if students can post, it makes your stream very busy. It's very social media like. It will make your stream very busy. And so if that's something you can handle, then go for it. But a great way to keep your stream clean and organized is to do students can only comment. Now, I'm going to go into classwork and stream in more detail when I jump back over to the other screen. But this is also where you decide if you want your classwork posting to show up on the stream. So what this means is, if I say hide notification, if I'm in my classwork tab and I post an assignment, it doesn't show up in the stream, but it does show up in classwork. It will also show up, I'm just going to X out of here quickly so you can see this. It will show up on the left here, upcoming, but it will not show up like here, right in the screen. It's another way to keep your feed kind of nice and clean and organized, so that the feed here in the stream is only you maybe posting the weekly update or a poll quiz for students or something fun like a would you rather, that kind of thing. And so then that way, as you put your assignments in, you can know, students will know rather, that it's showing up here. They'll also see if anything's due here on the left. So think in terms of the way you want to organize that, communicate that to students, that they should look here, or they should look in the stream, or look here and then check classwork. They will get used to it. Once you set up a protocol and make it very clear where they can look, then students will be able to see that no problem. So the other piece in the stream, and someone posted this question, is that it is very annoying that you cannot currently pin a post to the top. You can keep moving things to the top, but you can't pin anything to the top right now. Google's been getting this feedback for a while. Everybody wants that. This is a feature that will show up eventually. I know it will. But for right now, it doesn't. So if that's something that's driving you bonkers, you're going to want to make sure that you only allow yourself to post in the stream and students can comment, not post on their own. That will keep your feed much cleaner. It actually used to be organized that way in Classroom before the Classwork tab existed. And then there were topics down the left, and they got feedback that most schools wanted classwork in a separate place from the conversations, and that's why the classwork tab exists as it does here. So I'm just going to pop over and look at the questions really quick and take a look to see. So there are some questions about notifications and emails. You'll want to turn those off in your settings. There's another question, is there a way for teachers to access everything? Absolutely. You can have co-teachers. I've learned this week you can have up to 20 co-teachers, which is a lot. You may not want that, but depending on the type of situation that you have. And I also see that someone is asking about, oh, where was that one? If students can post pictures. So Norma, I'm going to address that a little later in the webinar, so hang on to that question. So as far as if you have parents right now or caregivers who are really stressed out about all of the emails and the updates and things like that, I really recommend just having them, you know, when you post week to week what it is that students are going to be accomplishing, or you're posting a video or a sort of an agenda list for the week, I would use that and then use your regular email. I'm not a fan of the feature in here that sends guardian updates, mostly because parents and guardians cannot join Classroom, but they can sign up for weekly emails for summary emails or even daily emails. But those emails only say what has been posted. Sometimes I find it creates more confusion than is necessary. It's probably better at this time if email notifications are turned off in your settings, for you know, if caregivers are already set up with that. It will keep it much cleaner. And again, this is a professional opinion. Your school may go a different route, but that's just kind of what I'm seeing might be better at this time, is that, you know, caregivers, parents could sit with their child and look for a moment at the classwork stream and look to see what it is they need to accomplish, and that's where they will see everything. I'm going to jump over really quick and look and see. Student teachers access, set up a video. Okay. Is there a way to email parents without giving them access to email you back through Google Classroom? I would just use your regular school email and just keep it short and sweet and give very clear directions on maybe what they're looking for in Google Classroom, and go from there. That's how I would recommend that. And video conference, Leslie, we will take a look at that too. So I've seen a lot of questions about adding co-teachers. So let's take a look at that right now. I will come back to classwork. I'm going to click over to people right now. So right now, we have teachers here in the people stream. And when you click on the plus to invite teachers, once you start typing them in, they will pop right up. Whoever's in your G Suite domain, you know, if you start typing, they're going to pop right up, anyone that you're connected to. If you want to add student teachers, you can do that. If you are a general classroom teacher and you want to add all of the service providers, Title I, special education teachers to your classroom, I recommend doing that. So thinking in terms of that, you would type them in, you add them in, they become a co-teacher, and they list you, you're listed right here. Co-teachers can do everything in a classroom that the teacher can, except delete the class. So you're basically giving them full access. This is helpful if you want to think in terms of specialists providing assignments or materials through the classwork tab only to specific students, or you want maybe say the art teacher, the music teacher, PE, you could join their classes, you could join the general classes, and you could upload your classwork, your ideas, your whatever it is you're pushing out to the students from there, so you don't have your own individual, or you can have your own individual. Like I said, you have to sort of decide as a district what makes the most sense. For middle school and high school teachers, thinking you probably wouldn't want a classroom for the whole middle school or the whole high school. It would get pretty messy. You might want to set up your set up your classes by grade or by section, a class period, and then add in the other adults supporting teachers from there. So this will help have everyone in the same place and have students be in the same place. As special educators or service providers, a question I've gotten a lot is about student privacy. In the classwork tab, when you create something, you can create an assignment or a material that is only shared with that particular student. So, and shared really isn't the correct word here. It's really only assigned. So I'm just going to do a special ed test. You would put instructions here. When you added something on, I'm going to go into way more detail in just a moment on what kinds of things you can add. I'm just going to click on this. Maybe you're adding a graphic organizer or a menu or something for students. And over here, you have who it's going to. And so if you're a special education or another kind of service provider, you would only check the students that you are sending it to. They are the only ones that will see it in their feed. Other students will not see that assignment. They won't see it show up because it's only been assigned to specific students. So a great way for differentiation, even with your general population to do that. And it's a great way to differentiate for your special education students or students needing services. I have had the question before about special education providers creating a class just for their caseloads, but that won't necessarily work because in the People tab, students will see everybody in that caseload. So if you have a small caseload, you could create an individual classroom just for one student, and then all the service providers for that student could join that class. If you have a really small school or small district, that might work. Or you may want to talk to the teachers using Google Classroom already to be added as a co-teacher so that you can post things just to that student. So I'm just going to pop over and see how that question went for some of you. If you send to 4 students, will all 4 of the students see the assignment you create? Yes, they will all see that. So again, thinking in terms of privacy, you could create separate assignments, or you could create a protocol within your classroom where you tell students that everyone is going to get what they need and you're going to be grouped in a variety of ways, just like in your classroom. For example, if you push in a classroom and you're working individually with a small group of students, it would be very similar to that. If you're sitting at a table with student A, B, and C who are receiving services, they can see each other. So if you put them in a group because you're giving them specific assignments, they won't necessarily see each other's work, but if they're commenting on an assignment, they will all see that. It's my opinion that wouldn't be much different than if you were working with them at a table, or if you were working with them in a separate location. But again, work together as a district, decide what makes the most sense, come up with a protocol and go with it that way. I have the question, I added a SPED teacher and she started receiving the emails from me to regular ed and family. How can I add her but not overwhelm her with emails? I would tell her to just go into settings and turn off all notification emails. Instead of using email as the way you know what's going on in Classroom, I would just tell people just to go into Classroom as your one-stop shop. Yes, you will still use your school email and you still may send, maybe one weekly email to families on Sunday night or Monday morning, letting them know what's happening for the week, and then direct them into Classroom for the rest of their instructions. That will really help cut down on emails for everyone. Okay, so let's take a look now. We're doing great on time. I was hoping to start going into big details in classwork by 1:30. So we're doing great. I hope you're all taking deep breaths out there and finding something that's going to work for you. So thinking here, I'm going to go into detailed classwork at this time. So if you take a look at my screen, I'm going to show you an example. So here's my classwork stream. The large font are my topics. The smaller pieces underneath are the items that go with that topic. So thinking in terms of ways to organize, you always want to start with a topic. So thinking week 1, week 2, or math unit 1, or art module 1. Sometimes using the word module is a good way to give flexibility to say you might complete this module over 2 weeks. And then students have all of the links, documents, videos, graphic organizers, templates, anything that you link here, and I'll show that, to complete that, that group of assignments, sort of walk them through it. So I'll just walk you through so you can see that. When you click create, here are all the things you can create. Assignment, quiz assignment. The only difference is that this will automatically get you a Google form so that you can create a quiz or assessment in a Google form. A question, just generally asking a question, an open-ended question for students to answer. Material, this would be a resource. This might be a video. It could be a PDF of a vocabulary list or a graphic organizer. It could be a view-only Google Doc. It could be a document you want students to edit. All different kinds of options for you to add here. Or if you created another post already in another classroom and you just want to click reuse, that will bring you to a new screen where you say, oh, I already made that for period 1. I can just reuse that post here. And it will list all of your things here. You can create new copies of all of the attachments if you like, or if you need to. And that way, if you're posting things to multiple classes, you don't have to worry about redoing your work. The other thing too is that when you create assignments and topics, you choose who it goes to. And so if you're posting something for first period, second period, and fourth period, you would select first, second, and fourth, and it would push out to all of those classes at once. Super helpful, a really, really awesome feature. So let's take a look here at, at topics. So 3 little dots in Google Land always means more. So it's always going to be a different menu. You'll see 3 little dots in all kinds of tools. So just when you see it, get excited. You're going to see more options. So, and this one in particular, this is for my topic. So do I want to rename my topic, delete it, copy the link to the topic? Do I want to move it down so I'm organizing my resources? Maybe I created Unit 2 and Unit 1 and I want to reorder them. So you can move things around. Here, when I hover over this particular resource, again, 3 little dots. Do I want to edit that material? Do I want to delete it or copy the link to that resource? Little options there in your 3 vertical dots. Sometimes people call it the stoplight. Sometimes people call it the snowman. I'm pretty boring calling it 3 vertical dots right now. So here is an example I made of a variety of assignments. So I'm going to click on week 1. And here is a whole list of all the different kinds of things you can upload. So I created a topic called week 1. Typically, you wouldn't have this many things in one assignment. I did this just to make sure you could see an example of all the different ways to post something. So when you are posting an assignment, do this here. Here we are. Students can choose to view the full assignment in a full screen. When they click on it, they won't see all of the people. You will. They will only see their work and if they turned it in or not, or if it was scored or not on the left. You, as the teacher, will see all of the work that has been copied for students in this situation. And you can see all of your students down the left. So that screen is really overwhelming right now because there are, 250 people in that sample class. That won't be the case for you. So here I am. I'm in week 1, and I can see all of my different options here. So I'm going to click on this so I can show you. You have 3 options when you are, sorry, wrong tab here. There we go. So you have 3 options when you're uploading or adding or linking work. You can decide, there's three things. You can decide, do you want students to view it? Do you want students to be able to edit it? Or do you want students to get their own copy? So here are a variety of things that I have put in, and you can already kind of tell some things students wouldn't get their own copy of. Like this YouTube link video I included, it's just going to be the link. It's not even going to ask you to make a copy. When I put this infographic in, I chose students can view. They don't need their own copy. It's just for them to view as they're doing their student work. Student collaborative slides. This is a time where I said, you know what, everyone needs to be able to edit this, and so I'm going to put that in like that. So let me show you what that looks like when you're creating an assignment and making those choices of student access. So I go up here to create. I'm going to create, I'll just create an assignment. We're going to call this Math Unit 1. I put my instructions here. Be very short and sweet with instructions for students. No more than 3. Click 1, 2, 3. If you need more, you probably need separate assignments. Or a video screencast tutorial on Screencastify, which I'm going to jump over and show you in about 7 minutes. So here I am. I'm in my assignment. I get the same screen whether I click assignment or material or any of those options. I'm going to click add. Okay, am I adding from my Google Drive? This would be, it's a template I've already set up. It's a slideshow I've already created. It's a PDF that I uploaded and I'm storing there. Is this an external link to another site? Am I sending kids to Scholastic News? Am I sending kids out to Newsella? It's a file that I have saved to my computer already that students just need to be able to view, or a YouTube link. So you're deciding from here what you're doing. If you think, oh, well, I really want them to keep their, math response notebook as they're going day to day in all one document. So this could be, maybe this is just math response notebook. And you give them the directions that they'll add to this each day for their math response, but you haven't created it yet. So from right here, you can click, well, you're going to want them all to have their own doc. It's creating it for you right here. Pops out in a new tab. And we'll title it Math Response. There we go. And this is where you will add your math response each week, or whatever the directions may be. Now, when it makes a copy for each student, it's going to put their name on it, which is amazing. Don't we love a tool that puts a name on student work? So here's, it says untitled, but once I submit it, the title that I gave my document, Math Response, that will show up. So here I am. Students can view files. That will not work. They need to be able to edit it. Students can edit files. Well, if I choose that, they're all editing the same file. There's a time and a place for that. A small group collaborating on a graphic organizer, a small group that's brainstorming a list, that kind of thing. Or if you put in a slideshow template, you may want students to be able to each edit their own slide on the one file. You could do that. But in this case, everyone's getting their own. So you'll choose make a copy for each student. Then you go over here, you decide which classes is this going to, what students is it going to. So if you do to 2 whole classes, that takes away the opportunity to differentiate. You'd have to do, if you only wanted a few students, 1 class at a time and choose those students. But then later in that other class, you could use that reuse post feature to reuse this post and assign it to different students. So you still wouldn't have to redo all of that work. Points, a lot of things in these first few weeks, you may want to do ungraded or just do 0, 1, complete, not complete, if you need to collect points for that. Due date, again, if this were me organizing work week to week for students, I would probably just make everything, due at the end of the week so that people can and students can do things as needed during the week. But certainly if you need it by a specific date, you can put it in there in time. Okay, you have to choose the topic or it won't be organized in your classroom or classwork tab. So I'm going to choose, I want it to be under week 1. Okay, I check everything and off I go. So once I click assign, it will show up. It will show up on the left for students in their home screen. It will show up, here it is, Math Response Notebook. It shows up right there in week 1. I didn't add a due date, so it doesn't show up there. So let's actually add a due date just so I can show you what that looks like. Let's put Friday, time optional, save. Okay, here we go. All right, so now it says upcoming, due Friday. So students will see a bunch of different things. If they pass the due date, it will say late, and then it will list all of the items that were late, that kind of thing. You may want to communicate with families that you understand everyone's doing the best they can. Sometimes students are very stressed out by the idea of something being late. So flexibility at this time and communication about that flexibility is going to be key for everyone's stress level. I'm going to pop over to the questions right now. I can't link classes to have an assignment push out to all at once if I schedule the post later on, can I? So Leo, you're asking, I think about pushing one assignment out to all classes. When you first create it, as long as you check all of the boxes for where you want it to go, then when you schedule it, it will go out to them, if I understand your question correctly. Okay, can EL parents easily translate the work given by the teacher? Google Translate is an amazing tool. I use it all the time. And if families aren't familiar with it, you could show them how to do it. I mean, it's Google Translate. I'm just going to pull it up right here. You enter the text, choose your language over here. It shows up on the right. Okay, I do this a lot when I'm communicating, but just need to send an email. Then I could use this. You can also translate whole documents into different languages using this. So I'm in a doc, for example, tools, translate document, choose your language. It's translated. That way you can send that, off it goes. So definitely, in order to be equitable at this time, if families need things translated, please use Google Translate to do that. Can students delete an assignment? Nope, students cannot delete an assignment. Okay, I see a couple questions about different kinds of assignments. So I'm going to jump back into Classroom to address some of those. And then I want to jump over to video because that's really important to many of you. So in classwork, when a student turns something in. So I'm going to go over, here's an assignment. I'm going to view the assignment. Okay, when a student has turned something in, they lose editing rights to it. So I'm going to borrow, let's see, who did I check with? This person. When you open an assignment, you get the assignment in this sort of assessment frame, so to speak. And so here is where you might add private comments that the student will see. This is where you see all of your regular tools. You can toggle between students here. So once you add any notes you have or you want to return the submission, when you click return, it sends it back to students. They would access it back in assignments, and they've been given their editing rights back. And this is a really great feature that is awesome for not just this time of remote learning, but for all times using Google Classroom, because Google Classroom really helps you with with creating a better feedback loop, so that we're not just assessing students at the end of an assignment, but we're allowing things to be turned in. We give feedback, we send it back. students revise or add or do what they need to do, they can turn it back in. It really creates a better feedback loop that helps students in the learning process. So I highly recommend using that feature. And again, students, if they already turned it in, but it was returned to them, they would come back into the assignment. They would see, oh, view assignment. It would say returned. And then they could click on it. And then again, I see everybody's, but they would only see their own. And then they could add their work. They could respond to your comments and go from there. So I hope that answers that question. I'm going to jump over to video and model Screencastify right now. Before I jump into Screencastify, a lot of people have asked about including video conferencing with families and students. For me, this would be the number one way to maintain community. And I think about our first goal, really maintaining relationships, to be able to set up those video conferences with students. You can use Google Meet for that. Google Meet is found up here in the top right. You'll see an icon. It will show up here. It used to be called Google Hangouts. You could use that. If you have been using Zoom, Zoom is not a Google app. It's its own separate website, but you can do Zoom calls free up to 40 minutes. The video quality is really good in Zoom. And again, all you would do is pop the link in here or create an assignment that says like class meeting or writing workshop at 9 a.m. Use this link to join the writing workshop. And they would click on it and it would bring them right to the video conference. So just wanted to quickly show that. For those of you that are looking for real-time video conferencing with students. So Screencastify is an extension, and a Google extension is essentially a fun tool that shows up here in your browser. I have an extension problem. I have lots of them. And it basically just adds to the functionality of your browser. And so where you get these is the Chrome Web Store, and all you would have to do is type Screencastify into your browser. It'll take you up chrome.google.com. You click on it. It's free for up to 5 minutes. I hear they're making it free for longer, up through the end of April. It's also not expensive if your school or district wants to purchase licenses. I use Screencastify every day for so many different things. So I highly recommend it. So mine says remove from Chrome because I already have it, but yours would say add to Chrome. Once you have it, you get this little guy up here, this orange arrow. And so what Screencastify does is it captures your screen while you are recording. You can put your face on it or not. And it's a great way to teach kids how to access things in Google Classroom, how to navigate the Scholastic news site if you gave them that, or how to, maybe you had a graphic organizer or a math problem that you had typed up and you wanted to record yourself talking through the problem, or you wanted to record yourself, art teachers, and thinking music teachers too, you wanted to record yourself talking through the elements of a piece of artwork or a piece of music, or lots of different possibilities for that. So here you get your option. Do you want it to record your browser tab, so only this tab I'm on, my whole desktop? You'll want to use that if you're clicking around tab to tab, or webcam only. So that means not your screen at all. It would just be you talking to students. Then you could choose that. You choose your microphone, choose your camera. In most cases, you just have the one choice. Some people may have more. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to make sure my microphone is enabled, and I'm going to keep my webcam here, and I'm going to click record. So I'm going to click record and show you all the steps for making a video and posting it to Classroom. You ready? Okay. So right now I'm in a separate site called Padlet. Padlet I love. It's something that I would definitely make a screencast to show other teachers or students how to use. So once I click record, it's recording my screen. And there's my camera. Hello. Yeah, I want to do my entire screen. I'm going to select it so I get my blue box around it. Click share. Countdown. Okay, and we're recording. So you saw it counted down for me here. Up here in the top right, do you see I have a little orange dot that shows I'm recording? So here I am. I can click around. I'm clicking around on my screen. Students will see all of this. Maybe I need a drawing tool. Maybe I need to circle something. Do I want to have, do you see the little circle? When I click, it made a little red circle. That was my mouse pointer tool there. I think teachers all over New Hampshire are going to get very skilled at Screencastify, because this is the fastest and easiest tool to walk through students through a site, do a virtual lesson. You could even, if you had a lesson in a slideshow, you could present the slideshow here and just walk through it, and you could talk over the slideshow. This is just a template. I didn't make this one. That way you could create a lesson incorporating images or video or directions, anything in a slide deck, and you could screencast right over it, and then that link will be ready to share with your class. So when you're ready to stop recording, you go into the top right and you click your Screencastify icon again. And again, it does keep it to under 5 minutes. I think that keeping it to 5 minutes is a really good lesson for all of us. I think because a lot of students will lose interest after 5 minutes anyway. Maybe for older students, if you have the paid version no longer than 10, we don't want to just take a lecture and digitize it. That wouldn't necessarily be the best way to go in most cases. So here I am. It's still recording. It tells me how long it is. I'm going to say, okay, my video is done. I click stop. Now, the beauty of Screencastify is it's already saving it to my drive. It's not only saving it to my drive, it's put it in a folder called Screencastify. So you can always find it. And then you have your share options on the right. I could share it directly to Classroom. If I do that, it's going to pop up in a separate window. I'm not sure if you all can see that because of the screen share settings, but it will pop up. I choose my class. It asks where do I want to put it? Is it an assignment or a question? So I can do it right here in my screen, or I click publish to YouTube. So you don't want to go to Drive and get the Drive link and post that to Classroom. You want to use the YouTube link. So when you click publish to YouTube, up here, your school admin is going to have to enable YouTube for teachers. And I think at this time, it's going to be super, super usable. So your school YouTube channel will show up here. It says, okay, private, only you can view the video, unlisted. People who have the link to the video can view it. Well, that is what we want. Okay, we do this here. And then once you click upload, oh, you know what? It's not going to let me do this while I'm screencasting here. So once you get this, it's going to pop the link out. You're going to take the link. It's going to, once you click upload, your link will be available. It will tell you the link is ready. On the right, link is ready. You're going to take that YouTube link and you're going to paste it right into Classroom. So I'm going to go back and put it right in here. Actually, let's go back to our Classroom tab. Okay, so here I am. I did my screencast video. I got my YouTube link. I copied it. I'm headed back over here. I'm going to go into classwork and I'm going to paste the link to that video where I want it. So maybe it's an assignment, and I'm going to add my YouTube link. I'll paste it in right here. Okay, or if I already have the URL, I'll paste it in right there. And then my video will show up right in my assignment. So the nice thing about this is, some of you might be freaking out about sending your kids to YouTube. The video will pop up in your the video will pop up right on the screen. Let me see if I can give you a better example of what that looks like here. No, not that one. That's okay. So it will show up there, and it will just show up in a box on the screen, and then students aren't kicked out to YouTube. They don't get sent to another app or tab. The video that they're watching is right there within the assignment. All right, I'm going to pop over to questions and see how we're doing with Screencastify questions. And again, I'm trying to cover as much as I can. Let's see, I used a slideshow with Screencastify. I had 10 different videos. Okay, so if you're using a slideshow with Screencastify for 10 problems, if you let Screencastify just run for one video, then you'll just get the one video. I hope that answers your question for that. Is it possible to scramble questions on a Google quiz? I'm going to have to answer that Thursday. I'm sorry. I will do all kinds of assessment things on Thursday. Let's see. I'm curious about videos. Okay, good. Posted day only shows up in the first class. I see your question about uploading an assignment and clicking all the classes, and you're saying it's only showing up in one class. I'm going to have to look at that separately, look into that, and if you can add that question after the webinar, or you don't have to add it actually. I know that Mike and Ann will take all these questions and put them in a spreadsheet for me to follow up on. Let me dig into that a little bit and see if I can figure out what's happening. Yes, the time limit has been changed to unlimited at this time for Screencastify until the end of April 30th, end of April, I believe, April 30th. Can a webinar be offered about the best extensions? Oh, that's what you're asking for. Okay. Can you switch between a webcam and desktop with one video? So for that one, if I understand your question, not really. You could enable your webcam and your desktop, and it would really just show your picture in a small square in like the bottom right corner, and then the students would see your desktop. So you really have both, if that is helpful. Yeah, so Screencast-O-Matic is another tool. Someone posted that. Catherine did. Thanks, Catherine. Screencast-O-Matic, it will do the same thing for you. It's a very similar tool. It's a site, not an extension. Screencast-O-Matic is beautiful. I used to use that until I discovered Screencastify. Yeah, Sue, I know you don't have YouTube. You may need to get together at a district and talk about this at this time, talk with your admin and sit down and make a plan. I know a lot of schools don't have it enabled for a number of very good reasons, but it might be at this time where you enable it for teachers. If your G Suite admin has you set up as a separate group, they can turn it on for teachers, then you can still put the YouTube link for screencasted video into your classes, and you'll choose that it's private and people with the link can access. So that will be helpful. The question, why don't you want to link it right from your drive? Great question. I don't know why it does this, but it kicks you out of your screen and it will kick you over to a new tab. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me why it does that, but that is what it does. And so you can do it if YouTube is just off the table completely. When you embed the drive link, it just lets students know it's going to open in a new tab and let them know that so they can navigate back to the classroom tab. So they're, toggling between tabs can be a little much for some learners. And so you just kind of want to break that down for them. Tell you again who gives the YouTube channel, your school domain. So whoever your G Suite admin will do it. Okay. Do you have to create a link to YouTube or can it just go straight to Classroom? The link is essentially being created in YouTube. It's just storing it there and taking the link. So you're not actually going to YouTube and kids won't go to YouTube. So I hope that answers your question. The one thing that I didn't get to talk a lot about were the other kinds of posts here. I think a lot of times we need to remember that so many of our students are visual learners, actually, and maybe at this point, the majority of them. And so thinking about any way you can take your learning during this time and really practice making it visual. So yes, screencasts are going to help with that. Posting video I'm going to do an example here. I know it's 2 o'clock, but I'm just going to keep going for a few more minutes if that's okay with everyone. Perhaps you want to create a question for students with a see, think, wonder. So you might say, what do you see, think, wonder? Going back to best practices, there's sometimes when we're stressed out, we just want to throw a bunch of worksheets and work and lists and directions and all sorts of things. But taking a step back and saying, how can I get kids to think deeply and communicate about content? There's a lot you can do with reading comprehension strategies and video and images that won't rely on text. I would love to do a whole webinar on that, so maybe that's something I can do next week. But maybe you even just add a video, you add a video, a short clip, a short, 2 minutes that students are watching, something to elicit conversation and response. Or maybe you add an image. You add an image that students are reading an image closely, really looking at details, sharing their thinking, their inferences, things like that. So that's another thing you can do. Somebody asked earlier how students would share images. So I'm just going to quickly show you that. There are 2 ways that I would personally do that. One is that if students were using Classroom on their iPad or Classroom on a phone, older students, if they have them, they can easily add images from the iPad or phone. So if they have an assignment and they go into the assignment and they want to link something to reply to it. This isn't going to work because I'm in teacher view. When students are in the assignment, they have a similar box to this where they can attach things, and students can attach a variety of things. So they could attach or link an image there. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it, I know of a teacher friend right now that has a Padlet. A Padlet is basically a digital virtual sticky board. For many of you, if Google Classroom isn't the way to go, pushing out resources and information and documents is going to be, you might want to use a Padlet for that. Can everyone hear me okay? I just got an echo for a moment.
You're good, Jaclyn. We can all hear you perfectly.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks. I just wanted to double check. So here I am. If I'm in my Padlet, this is a way that Padlet has a lot of settings, and maybe I can go into more detail on this next week, but Padlet's a great one to play with because you can create a digital sticky board that you are the only one that has access to edit it. I'm going to click here. So you can decide, what students are able to see, if they're allowed to comment on it, can they post on this, that kind of thing. So just some things for you to explore. Do you want students to be able to, you can get the link, you can share the link to a Padlet on Classroom, copy the link and post it in an email. And, you kind of decide what you want them to be able to do with privacy. Do you want them to be able to access it? Do you want them to be able to post on it? Lots of options that I can't go into right now, but you can explore. And so I do know one teacher that is doing a scavenger hunt with her kids, and she has these organized by, she just did categories. And so you can make it a Padlet, you can make it in columns, you can make it free form where things are posting. And so she has columns set up with different things to look for. And then students are able to post. So they click on it and they can click right here. They can take a picture right from the app. And it's not going to like this because I'm running too many things at once. Let's give this a try. There we go. And I can hold up my picture. To maintain student privacy, she is, she had students draw pictures for some cases. If she wanted them, to say, how are you feeling today? Students would draw a picture of how they were feeling and post it. Or students could say, could hold up the book they're reading and post something about the book they're reading. There's so much you can do with Padlet. That would be the best way I would recommend for students to share photos of things. If you wanted them to upload photos of work, you could still do that in Classroom. But if you're looking to have a collaborative activity to build community and so forth, Padlet is definitely something to explore. Okay, I'm going to take a look back over here at our outline. So thinking in terms of other things to integrate, I touched on a few of these for integrating other extensions, apps, or sites. Just think in terms of what are your goals. Keep it simple and small. Keep directions very clear, and start slow. Start with one thing. Maybe you just want to get used to posting a video. Maybe you want to take on screencasting right now, and see how that goes. And have students complete assignments by commenting on it. Take it slow little by little, because this is not only new for you, but it's probably new for a lot of families and students as well. Linked in that agenda are my favorite go-to resources. If you just go into Google and start searching things, you will be very overwhelmed. You can get super easy step-by-step support in the Google Support Help Center. It should be for your how do I fill in the blank kind of questions. How do I turn off my email notifications? How do I set up a slideshow? How do I how do I set up a document? For all of those very, step-by-step, black and white kind of questions that I didn't get to answer in the webinar today, if you go to this Welcome to Google for Education, this link right here, you type it in. It's step 1, 2, 3. It answers things really easy. If you're feeling so overwhelmed that you just want to start over at the beginning, I linked to this gcflearnfree.org. They walk you through 5 steps for doing it. It covers a lot of the things that I modeled here. It is a really, really awesome site. It walks you through a video. There's a tutorial. It's creating a class. It is a really great beginner tutorial for review. If you're someone working with K-2s, I linked here for you Christine Pinto, who's doing amazing work with Google Apps for Education for G Suite and little ones. And these are my favorite resources, my go-tos that will get you pretty much all the answers you're looking for. If you're looking for creative ways to support students visually, social, emotionally, some author friends of mine are adding to this site every day. They're adding choice boards, they're adding videos, they're adding templates, and who's offering what for free at this time, and a list of publishers who are allowing you to read books aloud. There's a lot there. So I'm going to stop for now, and I really hope that I was able to answer a number of questions for all of you and or give you the place that you can find answers to your questions. But please, if you have follow-up questions, type them into the box. I will get them, and I'm going to answer as many as humanly possible to help get you all squared away. And you're going to be great. Just take it slow, take a deep breath, one thing at a time, and you will figure everything out. Okay, that's it. I'm going to hand it back to you, Mike.
Great. Thank you so much, Jaclyn. I can't thank you enough on behalf of all the teachers who are part of this. The information I know is so valuable and so timely at this moment for everybody. At this point, since we're gone over just a little bit, and I totally appreciate that Jaclyn, you gave us a little extra time, let me just give a quick update on what's next. For all of you who are interested, again, this afternoon, I believe it's 3, or actually if you probably all have seen this link to our website, but it has the different webinars on here, and it looks like today at 3 p.m. is the Self-Care for Educators. So if you haven't already signed up for that and you're interested, please do. We've got some coming up tomorrow around virtual classrooms for grades 1 and 2 and 5 and 6. We're doing, Jaclyn's going to be back with us on Thursday to talk about leveraging virtual local assessments, which I know is such an issue for folks. But I know Jaclyn would say, take your time and take it slowly and easily, give students a little break for a little while. virtual classrooms for kindergartens on Friday, I believe, or maybe it's Thursday afternoon actually, and then doing a webinar on support for EL students, English language learners, on Friday. So please join us for those. Additionally, you've got our contact information here, and Anne is ann.mordecai at Demonstrated Success as well. Reach out to us with questions. So with that, a final thanks to the Department of Education and Caitlin Davis for supporting this work, and thank you all for all the work you're doing for students. And a final thanks to Jaclyn for your contributions today. I know that Jaclyn will be posting the answers to these questions. Thank you for that ahead of time, Jaclyn. And you all, again, will receive an email 2 hours after this with links to the Q&A and PowerPoints and the recordings and everything. So with that, thank you very much and have a wonderful afternoon. Stay safe.